Okay, so a question I get all the time is how long will it take to sell my house? And it really depends on how you're selling your house. Um, I tell people all the time when they're listing a property for sale, they have to count on 4 months from the day they list it to the time they can expect to close. Obviously, that's not exact, but here's the basic reason why it takes 4 months. People think, oh, it's such a hot market. I'm going to be in contract in a day. Nothing goes into contract in a day. I mean, maybe one time out of 1,000. Most of the time, you're going to show a property. Um, it's going to take a week or two to show it. Then it's going to take at least 2 to 3 to 4 weeks to get into contract because the attorneys are going to talk to each other and argue about stupidity so that they can justify their exorbitant fees. So it usually takes about a month to get into contract, and then it takes most people 2 to 3 months to get a mortgage. That's just the way it is. That's how long it's taking right now. Um, I was in the mortgage business back in 2005. It took 2 weeks to get the loan. But now it takes 2 to 3 months. That's standard. Now I've had situations where I sold a property of mine. Guy got a mortgage in 40 days. That was super fast. And I've had situations where it dragged on 6 months. That's really slow. But in general, if you say, hey, I got to be out of this house in May, I would say list it in February, right? February, March, April. Yeah, that's what I would say. That's if you're selling it, listing it. Now, if you're selling to an investor, you know, so people say, oh, I'm going to close 24 hours. Okay, take it easy, right? It's going to take 2 to 3 weeks to get title in most places. Some municipalities are still going slow because of COVID. It could take a month to get title. Nobody's closing without getting a full title report with all the municipal searches. That's the truth. Um, and then if there's a problem or there's some kind of title issue, your attorney as a seller has to make fine. If there's some kind of past mortgage that wasn't satisfied or some kind of deed issues, if it's an estate or something, somebody passed away, that's paperwork you're going to need, death certificates, copies of trust. Those things sometimes take time. Um, that's something you want your attorney to work on as soon as possible. But with an investor, you can close it in a couple of weeks, 3 weeks, as quick if there's everything's clean. Um, or if listen, to be honest, I bought more properties as an investor from sellers who needed more time than who needed to close right away. They just didn't want to be on a buyer's timeline. So it'll take as long as you need, right? I'm as an investor, I'm not going to push you out and say you got to close. I'll wait as long as you need, and I'm waiting right now over 9 months for somebody. Seller passed away. The kids are going through probate. Going to buy the property. I'm still in contract on it, but I know it's going to take time. So that's one of the main advantages of selling to an investor, is that the investor will work on your timeline, right? When you sell a retail property, you are on a buyer's timeline. That buyer is going to have an on or about date to close, and is going to expect to be out of someplace and into your property around that date. Now, they can't push you hard for that date, but within 30 days they can. So I've had a lot of situations where people sold to me as an investor because they just didn't want to be on a buyer's timeline. So that is possible. But if you're listing a property for sale, and again, let's just talk about the differences of why you would list a property for sale or not list a property for sale. So if your property is in decent condition and a buyer can get a mortgage on it, and it doesn't have any real problem municipal issues, so no open permits, no open violations, no unpermitted additions that could be a problem, and you're okay to be on a buyer's timeline, you should absolutely list your property for sale with an agent who's going to put it on the multiple listing service, because that's going to get you the most money for it, right? Like we said, there are downsides to it, right? You're going to have to show the property multiple times, and the real issue is you're going to sell to a buyer who's going to almost always have a mortgage contingency, which in essence is a get out of contract free card. People don't talk about it, and most times it doesn't happen. But I was in the mortgage business for 17 years, and I can tell you on probably 100 occasions, somebody called me and said, hey, I changed my mind, give me a denial. It's very easy to deny somebody for a mortgage. Documents expire all the time. It's simple. So the reason why you sell to an investor is for the certainty, right? Because when I buy property as an investor, I have no contingencies whatsoever, and the convenience, right? You're not going to have to show the property a million times. I'm not going to come back to you with an inspection and say, hey, I need a $20,000 adjustment, or you have to fix this. Or an appraiser is going to come in and say you have to put railings on steps. It's certainty and convenience, right? You're usually going to get less money for it. Depends, I don't know how much is a tough question. But if you don't need to sell to an investor, I would recommend you don't sell to an investor. Um, some people sell to an investor when they don't need to. I just had somebody recently. They just, they had a horrible experience with a realtor once, and then they sold another property. They had a horrible experience with a buyer, jerked them around for 6 months, and then left. They just didn't want that. They wanted the convenience of knowing it's going to close whenever they wanted to, and that's one of the main reasons you sell to an investor, as I said before. So, this is not, people think that investors are scammers, that we steal properties from widows and old ladies, widows and orphans, and that's not what happens, right? It's a simple voluntary transaction, and it's the same as any transaction when you think about it, right? When you go into Starbucks and you pay $6 for a cup of coffee that costs Starbucks 20 cents, you're doing it for the certainty and convenience of it. You know it's going to be there. You don't want to buy a milk frother. You don't want to buy beans and grind them, a bean grinder. You don't want to buy cups and all the crap that comes with it, and you're going to pay an exorbitant amount, theoretically, for the certainty and convenience that Starbucks gives you. And it's the same when you sell to an investor. You're giving up some money for the certainty and convenience that an investor gives you. But when it comes to time frame, there is no certainty when you sell your property to a retail buyer, because they have a mortgage contingency, which means they can jerk you around for months and then leave. I just had that happen to me on a property. 3 months into it, sorry, we got denied. Bye bye. Start from scratch. And the quickest it's going to happen is 2 months, but usually that's crazy. 3 months is possible. 4 months is more likely. So if you're listing a property for sale and any agent tells you, oh, we'll get it sold in 2 months, they may mean something as stupid as it'll be in contract. Being in contract is lovely, right? But it's not up to the agent to get it done. The agent can't push two attorneys who, sometimes you just have your attorney and the buyer's attorney are just bumping heads over stupidity, over wordage and boilerplate language that's standard, and it just happens. And nothing you can do about it. And it can take 2 months to get into contract sometimes. That's long. It shouldn't take that long, but it does happen. And then if the person takes 2 to 3 months, 3 months to get a mortgage, and you're 5 months into it, and that is very, very common, right? I'd say average is 4 months, but 5 months is common. So that's the story. Again, I would absolutely recommend, if you don't have time issues, municipal issues, condition issues, you should list your property with an agent. Now, I'm an agent also, right? I do two things. I buy properties, I fix them up and I sell them, and I also list properties for people. And obviously I think I'm the greatest agent ever because I am the least expensive, I am the quickest, and I am the best. But you should absolutely understand that you can negotiate anything with your agent. And if your agent comes back to you and you say, I don't want to list it for a year, and I don't want to list it for 6 months, I want to list it for 3 months, and your agent goes, oh, my broker won't allow me to. Or you talk to your agent and you go, I don't want to pay 5%, I want to pay 3%. And your agent says, my broker won't allow me to. You're using the wrong agent, right? And understand, most agents close like one deal a year. And think about all the agents that really do a lot of business. So most agents do almost no business. The average is like 1.2 deals a year. So if you're dealing with someone who says that my broker won't let me, you should probably say, I'll call you back, and then call somebody like me. I am the broker. Everything is negotiable, and we offer ridiculously low commission rates because I really do it as a service. I'm more of a house flipper, but I became a real estate broker because I had to list my own properties after the work was done. So now when I do list for somebody, it's a service that I look at as something, just ancillary to my business. I have people that I have probably 15 agents working under me, so we can easily give you the best service. But we'll take a listing for really low commission, and we'll take it for 60 days because I'll have it in contract by then. And if you're not happy, you can go back to the other guy who's going to ask you to list it for a year. So, and also we do things that other realtors wouldn't even imagine doing. Like we spend money for Facebook advertising to drive traffic there. We'll spend money for professional photography if we need. At our own expense, because that's what I'm doing on my own property. So I need to sell my own properties for top dollar. So your property gets listed right alongside mine and gets sold for top dollar too. So I hope this was helpful. If you have any questions about selling a house, whether you're going to list it with me or not list it with me, whether you're going to sell it to me or not sell it to me, you can always call my office at 516-209-2010. It's Michael Pinter. I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. Again, even if you're not using me in any way, shape, or form, if you have any questions about a realtor that you're using or questions about the process that you're going through, or is this normal? I get these calls all the time. Is this normal? And sometimes it's very normal. Sometimes it's really not normal. But I'm happy to help you in any way that I can. So give me a call in the office, 516-209-2010. 2010. Thank you very, very much for watching.